What's going on, everyone? Hit pause here with a very short list of the top 3 things that every new and experienced 3D Studio Max user must do to their application. I only say must as an opinion, okay? But I feel that these are the top 3 things that you can do to really speed up your workflow. The number one thing is not for speed, it is in fact for the usability of the program. The scene undo levels defaults to 20. That is nowhere near enough. Many operations that you do in 3D Studio Max, when you click one button, are actually doing a series. It's almost like a macro of events, each one of those events registering in the scene undo history. So when you hit undo, it may actually be undoing 7 or 8 things each time. So you need this to be as high as your computer can handle. I would make this 200. This is the number one thing that you have to do. You have to do this. If you don't do this, you're going to get in trouble. Okay. The second thing is to give yourself toolbars for the buttons that you use the most, and they're right here for me. Okay. Mine consist of export selected, backface cull. I have 2 scripts for UE4. One's pivot painter, the other is VF shapes. This is for creating vector fields. This is for creating foliage that behaves in the wind properly, like with a hierarchy. You can look these 2 things up. And then I have import file just in case. These I use much less because the tools are over here, but I do have some polygon modeling tools here. Okay, you can see this is called pause modeling. If I hold right here, this is called pause tools. The way to create these is very easy. You can just go customize user interface. Here, it does take a second to open sometimes, at least for me. Once that opens up, you can go to toolbars and you can make a new toolbar, and we'll call this testing 3, and we'll just hit OK. That will pop up right here. Once that happens, what you can do is come here and take anything you want. So let's say I want export selected, so I'm just going to click and type EX. Okay, and then I'll look for export selected, so we can put that right there. Okay, we can also make this larger. The next one was backface cull, so let's just type BAC here, backface cull toggle, so let's stick that right there. The next one was pivot painter, but that I don't know if that's actually going to show up in the list. Actually it does, yeah, because I have the plugin installed, so it's all here, or the script got ran. So that's there. I'm not going to put that one on. There's also an import file for me here. Import file. Now once you've got them out here, you'll notice that they're text buttons, and these are actually buttons except for these 2 here. All you got to do is right click on one and say edit button appearance, and then what you can do is go image button, and what I do is just pick the very top one, keep this highlighted, and now you can use your mouse wheel to scroll down through, and I can say, hey, I want this one. Boom, there we go. Okay, same thing here, image button. Just go to the very top and then start mouse wheeling down through until there's something that you like. Okay, whatever it may be, can be anything. In this case, I'll just use this right here, and you can see that turns here. Now these can officially be docked anywhere, so I can take that right there. Okay, so this is testing 3. You can always undock by grabbing the double lines. There's 2 double lines on every single menu. They're all here. Sometimes some of them have 1 line, but this is a completely separate menu. You can see the physics toolbar there. Okay, so there's that, and like I said, you can dock them. Boom. So that is docked there. Now I can have that. If you want, you can close it. Now if it gets closed, the way to bring it back is actually to go to toolbars here, find it on the list, and it'll have a hide here. As soon as you unhide that, it will come back. You can't hide it. Well, actually, let me see. Yeah, I can hide it here and it stays docked. Okay, but you may want to be careful doing this, because if you dock something else here, it might give you issues. So what I tend to do is just make it float and then just close it. Okay, and then it'll be here. So like any other stuff, like I have this testicle tools over here. This was another test for trying out these menus here. Okay, so that's the second thing. You should do this. Even if you like buttons and stuff over here, there's certain ones that take several clicks to get to. For instance, the export selected button. I can say here, let's just make a box really quick, and I'll just demo how this is handy. The way to export selected is to actually come here, go to File, okay, go to export and wait right here and go to export selected. Conversely, you can go and click this arrow right here and then go to export selected. Okay, so either way you got 1, 2, 3 clicks. Okay, we have 1 click here. Same thing. Alright, same thing here with the backface cull. Let's go ahead and convert this guy, which I just did, or did I? There we go. And I'll take this top and delete it. Now you can see that I have an empty box. Okay, the way to get the backface cull on this to show up is to right click, object properties, and check backface cull and hit OK. Alright, you'll see that that got highlighted. Alright, the faster way is to have a button. Okay, I can do this really fast. It's very handy. It's one of the handiest buttons in the game. By game I mean the application here. So backface cull toggle I found is a very important one. Okay, the third and final thing that you want to do, which is kind of similar to doing this, is actually to generate the buttons here. So as opposed to always dropping this down and finding stuff, you can actually just create these buttons here. There's a button right here called it's the modifier sets, and you can just click this and say show buttons. It should default like this, so say show buttons. It'll give you I think 6, and then what you can do is you can configure the sets, and you can tell it how many total number of buttons to have. So I can say, hey, here's 2 more, here's more. Keep in mind that the more you do here, the more you are crushing your menu here, so that things gonna get shifted around. So keep that in mind. Don't go too crazy with how many buttons that you want. And then all you gotta do is just take something, let's say here, let's say I like the effect region, and I just drag it onto the button. Let's say, oh, I don't want that, I want delete spline, and you can just swap it real easy. Say I always use the FFD, I use it on everything. Boom. If you use something on everything, do this, okay? Sometimes poly select is one that people do all the time. So throw that on there, hit OK, and boom, there it is. So now I can say, hey, 4x4, you know, I'll unwrap. You know, I don't have to go here and say, oh, let's drop this all the way down and find the unwrap. All right, it's way faster to just click that. Okay, so that's the second thing, or the third thing actually, is to do this modifier sets right here. Once you set these up, things just go much faster. Okay, and then one last tip. When you customize your user interface, I would highly suggest at least one hotkey in the entire program. One. That's the only one I'm going to suggest. You can put hotkeys on everything. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert to editable polygon right here. Now this isn't actually showing my hotkey for some weird reason. Here we go, keyboard. So I wasn't on keyboard up here. Okay, so here's my shortcut. This is the number one right here. Convert to editable polygon, Control-Shift-P. And the reason for that it's such an important hotkey is because, oh, I got all these things on here, right? Well, I can right click here and say collapse to or collapse all, or I can just hit my hotkey, Control-Shift-P, and I can always convert it back and collapse everything down. So say I got to unwrap, I've come in here, I've got a face, let's see, I detached that edge vert and I moved it up here. It's now in a different quadrant. I need to remove this top face. I need to delete these, right? Let's just assume that. Well, I'm in here. If I go back in here and make an edit and come back up here, that change is going to be gone because I just changed the hierarchy. So what I do is Control-Shift-P, grab these. You notice they're still selected. So I could just do that, delete it, come back off of here and throw that back on, and you can see that I haven't lost it. Okay, I haven't lost any of my moves. So again, mine is Control-Shift-P, but convert to editable polygon, number one hotkey in the entire universe. You get that one out and get it somewhere handy, super handy for you. Make sure that it's like something that you can hit very easily. I also have convert to editable spline. I used to have back in the day convert to editable mesh, but we don't use that anymore. And if you're using convert to editable mesh, or if you are using editable mesh, you should stop. I'm just telling you right now. If you're relatively new and you don't understand, you will eventually. But if you're an ancient user like I am, you'll know quite clearly why we work in editable polygon and not editable mesh. things just are cleaner and everything works out better. So yeah, that's it. That's how I have my Max set up. I do have one toolbar here. I have a second one that I don't really use too much, to be honest. I have my undos set. Again, that is the absolute most important thing. Undo set. There's another one on here that actually is handy. Animation is to uncheck local center during animate, and by that they're talking about this right here. You can see that when I rotate this, let's move this here off to the side. So we'll change this to world, right? And we'll go by, actually we'll go to rotation, we'll go by world. So right now it's set to use its own pivot. So if I rotate, it's rotating from its own pivot. I can also set it to go from the center. So now if it rotates, you can see that it actually goes from the object center as opposed to from the pivot, right? So that's going to be from the pivot. And then there's also use the coordinate system itself, use its center point. So that would be this last one here, and you'll see that that puts the gizmo at the actual origin, right? So if I have this way out here and I go to rotate, I'm still rotating around the origin. So I could actually come in and make an array that way just manually, okay? But during animation, if I hit auto key, watch this up here when I hit auto key. Now the hotkey for auto key is defaulted to N, so I'm going to hit N, click that, and you'll see that I can still change this. Everything's fine. But if I come here, the way that it defaults is with this on, and we hit OK. Okay. Now you can see I can change this, no problem. Let's go and let's change it to this. But now I'm going to hit N. This grays out, and I can't click this anymore. Now I'm stuck only animating from my pivot. So if I swap this guy to say the middle, and then I hit N, you can see it changes back. See that up here? It's changing back and back and back. I can't animate from the world center like this. I can't animate like that. So if I hit N, well, how am I going to animate like that? Well, in this case, you would have to create a dummy object, make sure it doesn't render, link this to it, and then rotate the dummy object, right? Well, that's the only reason you have to do that is because you can't rotate it from here anyway. And that's the reason for that is because of this setting here, local center during animate. We don't want to lock that in. We hit OK. We'll hit N. Now I can still change it, and I can actually still animate from this. But the thing to keep in mind is this. It's important. Okay, notice here, let's go here. In fact, let's move this out. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to animate this guy just over 20 frames. And we'll hit A so that we can go to angle snap toggle, and we're going to rotate this 180 degrees. And now we're going to scrub back the animation. Look what happens. Look at the actual animation that I'm creating where it's arcing around, but then look at the animation that's being produced in the end. Okay, clearly completely different. This is like a morph target theory. Okay, it's just linearly interpolating the object to its next point. So that is to keep in mind. However, we do at least still have the option. So here what I would have to do is probably put that there and then rotate this 90. Okay, and that would be a little bit better, but it's still a linear path. It's not curving around this, it's going straight here, straight here. Okay, the only way to actually get it to take a curved path is to do what I said in the beginning, which is to link it to a dummy object, which would be quite simply going like this. Now if we animate this one to 20, or 180 degrees, watch the curve, watch the animation. Okay, so that's the only way to actually do that. You got to remember that it's just a linear translation between two transform values, okay, position, rotation and location. So in this case we're only rotating and this object is linked to it. So there's a hint there, and again you don't even, even though it caused a problem, it is actually still handy to be able to change this during local animate, or during animation. So that's it. This is HitPause signing off. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this you found this useful. This should be something that you can do from Max 2008 and up, okay, all the way up through 2016. So it's HitPause signing off. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.